Hi everybody, we're the Foo Fighters. I wanted to work with Butch Vig on this new record because he's a really good producer, you know? Like, he usually makes great records when he makes records with bands, and I know what he's capable of doing. He's a really simple producer, but he has a good sense of what you do and what your song needs, you know? And we can get lost in those sort of things every once in a while, like, you know, our drummer listens to Genesis and Yes and stuff, so sometimes that's like prog rock quicksand, where you could just wind up with a song that was pretty cool. I actually listened to a demo the other day of one of the songs that we wrote on the last tour, and there's some parts to it that are really beautiful and would make for a huge, awesome anthemic rock song. But it's 7 minutes long. We put all this tricky bullshit in the middle of it. And I know that if I played it for Butch, he'd say, yeah, you really only need those two parts. Those other 5 things, fuck that. You don't want that. These 2 parts. And that's what Butch does. The other day I read a live review of one of our shows, and it even mentioned how I probably don't have a real garage in the live review. Because, you know, when I tell people that I have a garage, they just assume it, you know, there's a fucking Learjet in it or something, you know? Yeah. And, yeah, it's a garage. It fits a minivan. It has 2 kids' bikes in it, a refrigerator, and a minivan. And when you get out, you kind of have to go like this around the, you know, so it's a real garage. But it has character. When you put a drum set in it, or any instrument in it, it sounds different than a studio. So, you know, there's something about people using the same 10 producers, the same 10 mixing engineers, recorded with the same 10 microphones, and the same 10 compressors and gear, and then mixed on the same 10 boards. It's like, you can only have so many combinations before everything starts sounding the same. And I didn't want this record to sound the same. I mean, I wanted it to sound kind of loose. That's why we didn't use Pro Tools or computers. We used tape. We didn't manipulate anything digitally. It's just all straight to tape. Even the mix is straight to tape. So it was just meant to give it character and to make it sound like us. And the garage definitely had its own sound, which I think is more powerful than the best studio in the world. We made a documentary about the recording process, and in that you really get the feel of how, like, every day was. And, you know, the control room was, like, probably about the size of this room right here, and this couch with the 3 of us sitting on it, and Butch sat there, and the board was right there, and maybe I'm sitting on a chair doing a guitar track, and my daughter comes in and says, "You said you'd take me swimming. We gotta go swimming." And I'd say, I gotta play right now. And then before she walks away, she goes, on my guitar strings, and makes, so that I gotta fucking re-record it, you know? So the kids were always around. It was great. I like my kids. So it's always been temporary. It still feels temporary, you know? It's been 16 years that we've been around, but it really still feels like this could be our last record. It feels like that every single fucking time.
Why is that?
It's just because music, I don't know. I just can't imagine ever getting so comfortable that I think, oh yeah, we'll be back in 6 years, play the fucking stadiums. Oh. But I mean, it's a good way to do it, I think. That means that every record you make, if it's like your last record, well, you got to make it pretty fucking good. Mm-hmm. And you know, rock and roll is not something that too many old guys do. You know, that's a young man's sport. Except for us, you little fuckers.
Well, it's funny, you know. I remember when I first joined the band, like, we were all in our late 20s and early 30s, like around that age. And I remember Dave many times saying in interviews, like, I don't want to fucking be doing this when I'm 40. Are you kidding me? And that just seemed like so far away at that time, you know what I mean? That just way off in the distance. How could we possibly even exist at that point? Yeah. And then now we're all past it.
Yeah, but you know, I also, you two especially, if you had no success and nobody cared, you'd still be playing music in some bar or some corner or something, like, no matter what.
For sure.
Talking about the time that I
after
tried out
we
for the
break
Foo
up,
Fighters.
I'll still be playing music at some bar down the street. Honestly, you don't want to know what I spend my money on? Remodeling my fucking house. And that's not me spending the money. Just so you know. I'm married to someone that likes to remodel the house. So right now I'm in a rental house because this beautiful house that I've been designing and rebuilding for 8 years, we just took a fucking bulldozer and went and we're building it again. So I'm going to stay on tour for a fucking year and a half, and when I come home there'll be this fucking Taj Mahal waiting for me. It'll be great.
So next time we record, it won't be a real garage. That'll be the Learjet.
Yeah. That's the funny thing is that I'm remodeling my house, and the only part of my house that's not being bulldozed is the fucking garage in the studio. I'm like, don't touch the garage in the studio. Leave it.